evening, everyone. We're going to get started. I wanted to thank everyone for coming. I'm Melanie Fillmeyer. I'm the supervisor of guidance for the district. I also have here with me Doreen Welsh back there. She's one of the school counselors. So thank you so much for coming. I know that the college application process can be very exciting but overwhelming all at the same time. So hopefully this will help a little bit throughout the process. So I want to hurry up and introduce, this is Mrs. Barker from HESU.
Thank you. No, thank you. No. Yes, my name is Jamila Barker. Hello. My name is Jamila. Can you hear me like this? No. Okay. My name is Jamila Barker. I work for the New Jersey Higher Education Student Assistance Authority, otherwise known as HESU. And we're here tonight to discuss financial aid. We're going to talk about types of financial aid and how to apply financial aid and just a couple of resources that you can use. So, what's the mission of HESU? Well, we're the state authority, and we're here to provide information and services for families so that students can pursue their education. The goals of financial aid, because you have to know this going in. All right, so evaluate families' ability to pay for education. One of the ways that we'll discuss, completing the FAFSA form. That's how they'll know how to evaluate. Then they need to distribute limited resources in an equitable manner, providing a balance of gift aid and self-help aid, and implement federal and state regulations. What are some of the sources of financial aid? Well, you have federal, state, institutional, organizational, and civic organizations, the Elks, the Girl Scouts, things like that. And the type of financial aid from each category. There are grants, scholarships, loans, and employment opportunities. I don't believe that moving forward we're going to discuss employment opportunities as a financial aid. So briefly, I'll just let you guys know about that now. That's something called college work study. If a student is eligible, that's where they would be assigned a job on campus. So they'll receive a paycheck from a job on campus. They can only work up to 20 hours a week. It's safe. The departments understand the time constraints of students. So that's just the way for the kids, they get a paycheck. That's a source of income for them, or however the family decides how to handle it. There's something called the net price calculator. And that's on all schools. It's supposed to be on their website. And that helps families understand the closest to possible of what their out-of-pocket costs would be. It's important for schools to be as transparent as possible in looking at how much they would have to put towards a college education. It's an investment. Okay, types of federal financial aid. This is considered a gift aid, okay? They're gift aids in the financial aid world. The federal Pell Grant, and all of these are for 17-18, for this current academic year. We're not sure exactly how it will fluctuate from last to next year, but we have projected figures. So the Pell Grant is projected to stay the same, SCOG, 4,000 max. When we talk about financial aid, we're talking, they'll give you one set yearly total. You just have to remember that you have to break it into semesters. The Teach Grant. The Teach Grant is for students that say that they're going to school towards education, right? So there's a grant put in place where every year the student can receive up to $4,000 in that grant. The caveat is that if that student does not meet the criteria once they graduate and begin to teach, and if they're not meeting the eligibility requirements, that grant now becomes a loan, and interest has started the date that the student receives that grant. So I always tell families, you have to be sure that you're sure that you're sure that you want to be a teacher as best as possible if you're going to go for a teach grant, okay? Just to let you know, there's a change in the president's proposal for all of this. It's is looking for a decrease in Pell. Right now, they're sort of saying that it'll maybe be level, but SEOG grant, teach grant, the proposal is for them to not be extended. Types of state aid. The New Jersey Tuition Aid Grant, that's the grant that New Jersey offers, okay? All of these that I'm speaking of, they're need-based aid. And I'll get into what need-based is. But tuition aid grant, you have to demonstrate financial need. That's across the board when we're talking about financial aid, and we'll talk about that. But you have to be a U.S. citizen, a New Jersey resident, okay? So that's very important. You have to be a New Jersey resident attending an approved college in New Jersey. So you cannot take, if you're eligible, you cannot take New Jersey grant money and go to a school out of state. And full-time, for the New Jersey Tuition Aid Grant, if you go to a 4-year university, then you have to be at least full-time in order to be eligible. However, if you go to a county college, a 2-year school, then it's half-time and above. So that's something else that you have to pay attention to. Are all the families here seniors, parents of seniors, senior students? What year are we in? Okay, so you guys will be filling out the 1819 FAFSA. God bless you. The state also has an EOF program, Equal Opportunity Fund. I'm not quite sure if anyone's heard of that, but that's an excellent program. If you meet the eligibility requirements, it's more than just a grant, because there's also there's tutoring that goes along with EOF and outside programs. So that's in between $200 and $2,500 a year in a grant. Not only do you complete your FAFSA form, but EOF has a separate application for that. So if you're interested in EOF to see if you're eligible, when you fill out the admissions form, you also have to indicate that you would like to be considered for the EOF program. And then there's the Governor's Urban Scholarship, top 5% of the class at the junior year. Okay, the guidance office sends New Jersey the rankings during the junior year. Now, let's say your child was not in the top 5% during their junior year. If they're graduating in the top 5%, then all they would have to do is self-report. If for some reason they fall below the top 5%, during the senior year, since they met that eligibility, that requirement in junior year, then they would still be eligible for the Governor's Urban Scholarship. Now, the thing is, you're the top 5%, but it has to be at least a 3.0 or above. Once again, we're talking New Jersey money, so you have to attend a New Jersey institution. When you file the FAFSA, you'll receive an estimated family contribution for federal, but for New Jersey, you see how it says have a New Jersey eligibility index? We'll get into that, but that's what they're saying. There's a certain number that has to be 10,500 or lower in order to be one of the other eligibility requirements. NJ Stars. Now, here we go again. NJ Stars is for the top 15% at junior year. That's where you would go to the local county college. So New Jersey money, New Jersey institution, but you have to start off at a county college. And tuition is paid. So if you're in the top 15% or you think you're even close, then you should find out the guidance office. They're the ones that report that information to us. And the same as with the governor's urban scholarship, if during your senior year you reach that 15.0% of the class, then you would self-identify. But once again, you have to go to the local county college. There's different, if you graduate within 5 semesters for New Jersey Stars, graduate with at least a 3.25 or above, then you go on to a grant at a 4-year school. All right, so it now changes from tuition free to a grant, to an annual grant with that. And you have to be at least full-time. The governor's industry vocational scholarship for women and minorities. That's another. The difference with this particular scholarship is that you can actually go to a technical school and receive this if you're eligible. The bottom, some of the programs eligible for the scholarship included is for specific majors. So in the engineering field, and on our website, we also have these brochures that will break down the county colleges, all right, that may allow you to take place in this. So there's the 19 county college, technical vocational schools, and there's a couple of proprietary schools. Women, of course, minorities, it goes across the gamut. Does anyone have any questions about the federal programs, state programs? It's a lot right now, all right? Once we keep going, you'll get a hang of it. So we talked about self-help, that's grants, okay? I'm sorry, we talked about the gift aid, those are the grants. Now we're gonna talk about self-help. What's the first thing that we look at, that we would suggest that families do? Once you find out how much you're eligible for in grants and scholarships, okay, both federal, state, institutional, and outside scholarships, if there's any additional money that you may need, then the first thing we say to you guys is try to make a payment plan. Can you handle doing it in a payment plan so that way you won't have to take out a loan and you don't have to incur interest? So that's the first thing that we look at to advise. Then we'll move on to the other types of loans. Federal Perkins loans. That is, historically, it's been 5%. For that interest rate, and you can get up to $5,500 for that a year. Remember, with financial aid, we're looking at yearly totals. Then there's the federal direct loan. The loan is through the federal government. So they have subsidized and unsubsidized federal Stafford loan. The Perkins, the federal direct loan program, those are student loans. So they would be in the student's name. The students are responsible for repaying the loan. They're not going to run students' credits or look at income. They have to complete the FAFSA, okay? And they have to be enrolled in a degree-seeking program, and they have to accept it and be at least 6 credits or above. So, need-based, and we'll discuss need-based, but there's 2 types of Stafford loans. There's the subsidized and the unsubsidized. The subsidized, the federal government is paying the interest while the student is in school. However, remember I said once the student is in school, if they fall below half-time, leave school, or graduate, then they're going to go into repayment after 6 months. All right, so it's not just graduate. Even if they fall below half-time, that puts them into repayment, right? But the federal government's paying the interest while they're in school. Then let's look at the second one, the unsub. The student is responsible for paying the interest while they're in school. There's 2 options. They can either defer the interest until they graduate, fall below half-time, leave school, and the interest will, then they will start paying the interest plus whatever has accrued. Or they can opt to just pay interest while they're in school so that they won't have it, right? They don't have that interest to have to catch up to. But at the time of completing the entrance interview, where they're giving the rights and responsibilities and letting the student know what they're getting into, that's one of the options that they'll check off, whether they would want to defer or pay the interest. So, subsidized Stafford loan, no interest while the student's in school. Unsub, the students are responsible for paying the interest. $3,500 is in tiers. So, subsidized, $3,500 for freshmen, 0 to 24 credits. That's the max that they can receive, okay? Subsidized. Unsub, it's $2,000. Let's say that the student is not eligible for the sub because that's a need-based loan. If they're not eligible for the sub, then that sub can get turned into an unsub. So at any rate, whether you're eligible or not, the top, whether you're eligible for subsidized or not, is $5,500. All right? So if they say you don't have need in order to get the subsidized, and if you really need it, then that unsub is there. Also, there's where it talks about, there's a Parent Plus loan, okay, where it would go through the parent. This will go through the parent. The parent will have to meet the income criteria, have the credit score. We all don't have that, so let's say you apply and you are not approved. Then the federal government put in place that if you can show that you were not approved for the Federal Plus loan, then they'll offer the student an additional $2,000 a year for the unsubsidized. And the federal direct loan, that's the plus that I was talking about. Now, New Jersey has a loan as well that's extremely compatible. However, what we say is in our policy that first the students will take out the federal loans. That's the first step. And then if you need additional monies, then you can come to New Jersey or any other, lender, but we ensure that you take out the federal loans because that has the best borrower benefits. Federal loans will always have the best borrower benefits, okay? So that's what we say. You have to first, in order to, if you're qualified with us, then your first step is to take out federal, all right, for the student. And so, New Jersey, NJ class, the supplemental loan program. We have, depending on your repayment that you choose, that determines the interest rate that you'll have. So if you notice, pay it automatically 10 years, that's going to be the best interest rate. And then as you go down, 15-year, right, then the interest rate goes a little higher. If you go all the way to, which is still very compatible, if you can defer interest while you're in school, or you can start paying immediately with 15 years as well. We have different options. You can apply for it online. All right. This is in the, some students might need this. I've seen one case, but we have income. The minimum income is $40,000. And then there's also the credit score minimum. Let's give or take somewhere around 680, something, you know, somewhere in there. So that's what we would be looking at. Institutional money, that's through the school. So if we're working, you know, track star, some type of athletic scholarship, if the student had a very high SAT score, ACT score, things like that, then those are scholarships that the institution may have available for the student. So please make sure that you inquire about institutional funds. So those are the types of grants and scholarships and loans. How do you get them? You get them through completing your FAFSA form. That's the first step. So you have to log on to the FAFSA.ed.gov. Well, you know what? The federal government is making, before you take that picture, if you're going to take it, the federal government has made a secured site, a more secured site moving forward. But all they're doing is leaving out the ED. So it's FAFSA.gov. The site was secured before, but I guess with everything going on, they really wanted to boost it, you know, boost things up. So the left is the CSS profile. Not all schools actually want you to complete a CSS profile. That's basically for schools that have a large endowment fund, so they really have to be careful of who they give the money to for that. And then that's the FAFSA website. The CSS profile. See, there's only I don't know if you want to say only, but 400 colleges and universities that really use the CSS profile. You have to pay for the CSS profile. So please do not just go out and complete a CSS profile. The first the first charge for one is $25. Okay, and then you have to pay for each additional, if you know, for any school that requires it. I've seen people just go out and do them. Please don't do that. Make sure, why spend money? We don't want to spend money. We want to save as much money as possible. So, available October 1st. That's when it came out for you to complete. And it's the same thing as the FAFSA. It aligns with that. So the FAFSA's out October 1st. The CSS profile is out October 1st. Does anyone have a school that's requiring a CSS profile? You are? You are? Oh, just one?
No.
Wait, did you say 5?
No.
Oh. Okay, I was going to say, whoa.
But
More and more are? Where do you, like, northeast?
Penn State, Brown.
Yeah.
They didn't last year, but they changed
No.
last year.
Okay, all right. Oh, my goddaughter is applying to Penn State. But, all right, October 1, and it aligns with the FAFSA. CSS Profile, that's the website for the CSS Profile customer service number, if you need that for the people that had to complete it. No? Sorry. Okay. This is the 1819 FAFSA form. You'll find if you didn't get a chance yet, we, didn't request that you really get them beforehand because I like people to listen to the presentation. But there's a copy of it just so that you can see what you have to complete, the information that you're going to have to complete. That form that we're giving you, please don't send that in. It's strictly electronic. It's online to complete it. So, the 1819 FAFSA. Students and families have to complete it. It comes out October 1st. That's different. Okay? No, it used to come out January 1st, but this has all changed. So, for you guys, you're going to use 2016 tax return information. There's a thing now that's called prior year. So you're always going to be 2 years behind in your income that you're reporting. It seems to work out a little better for school. It aligns more with schools and acceptance and students learning earlier how much they may be eligible for. We understand 2 years behind income has changed, but income could have been higher, lower, 2017, but the federal government wants 2016 tax return information. That's the information that you have to put on there, regardless of if there's a drop in income. If there's a major drop, say a job loss or things like that, then that's where you will go to the school and explain the circumstance and see what they can do in terms of a special circumstance. So what does the FAFSA do? It collects all the information, geographical information, income information, family size, things like that, to determine how much a student would be eligible for. It's put in a federal formula and lets you know what your eligibility would be. Well, lets the school know in order for them to package you. With the FAFSA, since it's electronic, each student has to have a FSA ID, a Federal Student Aid ID. That's where they would sign. So the student has to go on. You can go on to fsaid.ed.gov to create the student's FSA ID, and a parent has to create a FSA ID. Because a parent, for dependent students, the parent has to sign it as well. So if you don't get that FSA ID and if you don't sign it, it's an incomplete FAFSA.
That still has the EG in it, it's not taken out like the other one.
Yeah, no. Now also, when you, if you're on the FAFSA website, there's also a link at the top. It says FSA ID, and you can click on that, and it'll take you to create your username and password. So it's not a must that you log on to here, and then log back on to the FAFSA. There is a link on the FAFSA on that home page. They're still practicing. Now, you can also use the IRS retrieval data tool. Since you've already completed your 2016 tax return information, the federal government allows you an option, the IRS allows you the option to click onto the link and give permission for them to extract the information that's needed on the FAFSA form, so that for those questions, you don't have to worry about answering them. So that's also an option. In order to do that, you also have to put in your FSA ID to give the approval, okay, for them to do that. Now, just because you use the IRS data retrieval tool, there will be income information that you have to provide. Wages. They don't extract the wages, so that's something that you will have to put on the FAFSA form. Okay, but for the most part, they answer those questions. When it comes to the other information, let me give you an example. Tax deferred pension information. I don't have my glasses. Can you see? Just a couple of those.
Which ones? Education credits, college support paid because of divorce or separation. Your parents' taxable earnings from need-based employment programs, your parents' taxable college grant and scholarship aid.
Like that, okay? Things like that you will have to put on the FAFSA. Thank you very much. All right? I'm training my eyes not to need glasses, but I don't know, it's really not working. So there are some things that you have to put onto the FAFSA. All of these things they're getting off of, you have to put it off of your 2016 tax return information. The only things that they're going to ask you for cash and savings. How much is in your cash and savings account at the time that you complete your FAFSA? They're going to ask about your investments at the time that you complete the FAFSA. All right? But for the most part, it's all 2016 information. Has everyone completed their FAFSA? What's today, the 12th? Okay, guys. You can go on and complete them. Yes.
When they ask you about your bank account at the time, are you putting in a number you have to provide statements to?
No. When you do your FAFSA, you're not submitting any information, any documents with it. It's just that form.
So your cash that doesn't show up on your 2016, you presumably you got a day before you file your FAFSA. If you don't provide a monthly statement that goes in?
No, you do not provide a monthly statement. This is all self-reported information. Scout's honor, that's what they're looking for. Now, there's a random selection for state verification or federal verification. That's not one of the things that will normally get picked up for a verification reason. Okay?
What are some of the things that you picked up?
Who am I talking to? Did you say that? Oh, okay. What are some of the reasons that a person would be selected for state verification or federal verification? There's little different things. It can, if you leave something blank, for instance, let's say, these are some of the questions. What's your adjusted gross income from 2016, right? And then they're going to ask you income tax paid. So you opted to put in the information, not to have that extracted from the IRS data retrieval tool. If you, let's AGI $50,000, and you put income tax credit paid $50,000, we know something's wrong with that. That can't be possible. So you can be selected. It's a random selection to say, hold on, let's check this to make sure that you're actually getting your eligibility, whatever you're eligible for. So it's little tweaks like that, but also it could be luck of the draw, just a random thing.
If you have multiple children, do you have to create a parent separate ID, or do you get one ID and then the kids have their own and that's all linked to you?
Excellent question. Every presentation, someone asks that question. One, thank you for asking that question because it helps a lot of people. One, the parent signs it. They don't have to, it won't let you create multiple ones. It'll stop you and say that person's already in the system. All right? The student and the parent use the same FSA ID throughout. Even after you get out of school, you're going to need that FSA ID for students that take out federal loans, because that's how you check your federal loans too, to make sure everything's all right with that. Okay, we talked about this. Does anyone? No, this wouldn't pertain. We're okay with that one. This is an example of the FAFSA website. What I would like to point out to you is on the left-hand side, it says student. One of the common errors is that parents will put their information when we're asking for student information and vice versa. This can completely hinder you when determining the package. Okay, make sure the student's information is on the student side and the parent's information is on the parent side. Like I said, there's a formula. And the distribution of that, how it's put in, greatly determines the outcome. And there's a drop down. It says 420. Thank you. Right? You have to provide 2016's tax return information for 2018-19. In case there's an error, it will identify an error. The error here is it says for 2016, have you completed your IRS income tax return or other return or another tax return? You see how it says will file? But yet the very next question, it says that they filed joint return. Is a contradiction. So there is the logic to say something's wrong here, let me stop you. The data retrieval tool, we've discussed that. Let's say, remember, only one parent. And when we're talking FAFSA, we're talking, when they say they want parents' information, only biological parent. All right? Parents are married, we only need one signature. Parents are divorced. The parent that has custody, parent provides more than 50% of income for the student. Separated, living in separate household, who does the student live with? All right. Please, if parents are divorced or separated, living in separate households, please don't put that other parent's income information on the FAFSA. All right. You're only putting the information for the biological parent that provides more than 50% of the income. If there's any questions, because there are, different things that always come into play. So if you have any questions about that, I'm here, for a little bit after this. Highlights. What are the eligibility requirements for financial aid? Valid Social Security number, enrolled and accepted in a degree-seeking program, U.S. citizens, or eligible non-citizen. Males. On the FAFSA, there's a question, a sex question. What sex are you? They're asking what sex are you when you were born, right? What sex? They're asking that question because males have to register for selective service in order to be eligible for federal and state financial aid. All right, so answer that question. If you don't answer that question, you're a female, then that's something that they're going to come back to you to say, hey, you didn't register for selective service. Let us know what's going on.
What does that mean, selective service? You registered for the Army?
Well, in case there's a draft, an Army draft.
Do you have to be 18 to?
Yeah, there's a thing saying register me.
So what if your child is 17?
Then it says register me. And they will on the FAFSA, you can indicate register me. So if I'm completing my FAFSA right now and I'm 17, I would put on there, if I'm a guy, of course, I would put on there register me. And on my 18th birthday, I will automatically be registered for selective service.
So then you don't do it through the school?
No, you don't do selective service registration through the school.
But we do get forms to your driver's license.
You get driver's license?
When you get your driver's license, they ask you if you want to.
At the school?
No.
Driver's license.
Oh, yeah, you can do it a multiple. What we're saying is if the student is 17, if they're completing their FAFSA and they have not turned of age, you can simply just check off register me. If you check off register me and you go to get your driver's license and you've already checked off register me, the federal government's gonna register the student for financial aid. But yeah, I never received that card, I guess. Right? They should only give it to men. Well, okay, it's a good thing. We're going to ask, well, not we, the federal government. They're asking for remember I said demographic information, name, address, social security number. Make sure that you're giving the correct information. That can hold up the totaling of what you're eligible for. All right? So for all of these things, date of birth, whether or not, it's going to ask about driver's license for the student. That's optional. If you're going to a school in New Jersey, I suggest that you answer that question on the FAFSA because that's one of the things that New Jersey looks at to see if you're a New Jersey resident. All right, so we'll ask you. If you didn't answer it, we're going to come and ask you that question. So you're answering all of that. There's a thing on the FAFSA dependency questions. It's about 13 of them. So if the student can answer affirmatively to at least one of the dependency questions, then they don't put parental information on it. Then that student is deemed independent, okay? And their financial aid is based solely on their information. What are some of the dependency questions? If the student is 24 years of age or older, in the military, married, have a child that they support more than 50%, ward of the court, orphan, homeless. There's different, you'll see on the FAFSA when you have to, it's under the dependency status side. Household size. How many people are in my household? Okay, I'm the mother, right? It's me. I'm not married. I have a child going to college, and then the child has a sibling. That's 3 people in my household. All right, so when it asks for household size, you just calculate and make sure you include the student, of course. Then the next thing that they're going to ask is the number in college. Include the student. All right, so the student is 1. And then if you have other people in household that's in college, add them along with it. Also, just remember that if you receive any Medicaid, SSI, SNAP, any of those, to indicate it on the FAFSA, because that's a separate formula for determining financial aid. All right, so if you receive any of those, please indicate it. It's not going to ask you any amounts, all right, but just indicate it. You can put up to 10 colleges on your FAFSA. Hey, you put 10 colleges, but then you realize that you left a college off. You can log back in, delete one school, add another school. When you're completing your FAFSA, you complete the FAFSA. All of the schools listed on the FAFSA will receive your FAFSA information in order to determine eligibility, okay, in order to determine the financial aid package. When you're completing your FAFSA, the last page, hold on, I hope this is next. No, it's not next. As you're completing your FAFSA, this is the confirmation page, all right? So, where it has that orange chevron, optional feature, start your state application, click there. It'll take you right onto New Jersey State website, njfams.hesa.org. And you can go right on there to answer the additional state questions that we require in order to determine if the student is eligible for New Jersey funds. Some of the common mistakes made, remember I talked about student's name, you have to list it, or parent's name, list it as it shows on the Social Security card. Oftentimes, parents may have gotten married and never changed their with the Social Security Administration. That may hold it up because it's not going to match. Social Service Administration is not going to match your name with your Social Security. Okay, so you have to be careful with that. Parent section versus student section. Remember, on the left, it's going to say student when they want students' information. It's going to say parent when they want parental information. Divorce, remarried households. Okay, so now I'm divorced, right? I'm divorced and I'm remarried. Whose information do I put on the FAFSA? I have to put my information and my husband's information because it's household income. I'm still leaving my ex-husband out because the child actually resides with me. We talked about that taxes paid, you know, the differences in the numbers. Remember, 0 is a number. You cannot leave it blank. College grade level, that is always something that holds people up. In order to be eligible for financial aid, you have to be working towards your first bachelor's degree. Sometimes when they put college grade level, students will say, well, I want to go towards a professional, a master's degree, so they'll put that on there, which automatically disqualifies them for financial aid. Second bachelor's, that automatically disqualifies them for financial aid. So be careful on questions like that. NJFAMS, that's a new state system that we just started using this year. It's really great. It's very interactive. It's user-friendly. So you can log, it's njfams.hesa.gov. Is it up there? Yeah, I mean .org, sorry. njfams.hesa.org. The student only has to register a username and password. That's how they will come in at any time and check their eligibility. In order, all of the scholarship applications are actually on NJFAMS to complete. So the state now, we're strictly electronic. The parents, no, don't create a registration. This is strictly for the students. And it's real time. So complete your FAFSA, create your registration, keep that registration, that username and password. So there's going to be a couple of user names and passwords, so you might want to write them all down. There's something called a cost of attendance. This is how schools determine financial aid packages. All right, each school's cost of attendance can be different. It's made of direct costs, which is tuition and fees, sometimes room and board, or it could be indirect. The books, supplies, it's miscellaneous. They're just giving a certain amount that they're saying will go towards that. The cost of attendance is the amount that is the maximum that the student can receive, whether it's grants, scholarships, loans, that they can receive for educational purposes. Unexpected costs. This is a good one. Remedial classes. Remedial classes are no credits. So now let's just take, for an example, the New Jersey Tuition Aid Grant, where you have to be 12 credits. Well, the student's taking 9 credits, 3 classes, they're actually getting 9 credits, but yet they have to take a remedial class. We would look at that as being full-time, 12 credits, but they're not, because 3 of them for the remedial class is not included in that. So please keep that in mind. Change in major, that can add, if it adds years or semesters, it's adding more money that you have to pay. Another one, my nephew, he went to Stanford. Well, he went on a scholarship. However, all of the plane fare that we used, we didn't ship out furniture, so we had to go there, my sister, go out, purchase furniture and things like that. So please also calculate all of that. Think about it when you're looking at it. When you complete your FAFSA, it's going to come up with an estimated family contribution based on the information that's on the FAFSA, okay? It's a federal formula that we'll use. The EFC will determine the need that the student has. And financial aid need is good, because the more need you have, the more eligible you are for financial aid. Yes?
Having multiple children in college, does that put you in a more need?
Yeah, you have to spread your money out. Also, the FAFSA is going to ask for the age, the oldest parent, the age of the oldest parent. That helps, because they look at it as being the closer you are to retirement, the less that you have to put towards education. That EFC that comes out, that does not mean that that's the amount that you have to pay towards college. It's just a number that says, based on this is what the federal government's formula believes that you can afford to pay towards education. Okay, no, but okay, let's look at this, because this is very important. The cost of attendance. Okay, each school has a different cost of attendance. So, 2-year college, cost of attendance that the school determines, a 2-year college is going to be less expensive than a state or a private institution. Okay, so I don't know. I'm just making figures up. I don't have it in front of me, so I don't have the math in my head right now. But let's say a 2-year college costs $10,000. That's the cost of attendance that the financial aid determines, $10,000. A state school, $20,000. A private school, $30,000. Okay, because each school has a different cost of attendance. Now, the EFC stays the same. So the EFC is $15,000. That's what the FAFSA says. The EFC is $15,000. Remember, you have county college, $10,000 cost of attendance, right? EFC, $15,000. So what's your need? How are they determining the amount that they believe you should receive in federal aid? You have no need. because your EFC exceeds the cost of attendance, right? Now we're moving on to the state school, which has a $20,000 cost of attendance, EFC 15. So now your need is $5,000. So you can receive need-based aid up to that $5,000. Then you're not eligible. You've met your need, right? And then, of course, the $30,000, your need would be $15,000. So you would be able to receive aid to meet your need. All right? So your EFC stays the same. Cost of attendance will change, which in turn will determine the need. The higher the need, the more financial aid you receive. And that is based on the FAFSA form that you complete and the cost of attendance. Now the state will come in. We receive your FAFSAs. For every student that lists New Jersey as their legal state of residence, we receive the FAFSAs. With the FAFSAs and with answering the additional state questions, New Jersey we have our own formula to determine if you're eligible for the New Jersey Tuition Aid Grant. And also, remember I talked about the urban scholarship, the governor's urban scholarship, the top 5%, that one. And it said the New Jersey eligibility index has to be lower than 10,500. That's where the New Jersey eligibility index comes in. That's based on the FAFSA and the New Jersey questions. Okay, everything that I've spoken about is you can go on to www.hesaa.org. That's the general state website where we have all the brochures about federal and state grants and loans. All right. Remember that you have to register for the, God bless you, FSA ID to sign your FAFSA online. And you also, the student has to register with njfams.hesa.org, register account so that they can go online. But the state information that's out there has these websites on them. What do you do now? Make sure that you have all of the admissions applications in, that you have already looked at the scholarships that the student may be eligible for. We're late. There may be a couple out there, collegeboard.org. Do you guys have a portal?
Yeah, you can go on Naviance, and we have scholarship posts on there also. So if you have difficulty getting to those, you can reach out to your school counselor, and also make sure that you're looking at that because they're updated monthly.
All right, scholarships count, guys. Any money that you can get is helpful money. All right. Also on New Jersey's website, you can click on different toolkits so that we can help you better understand. You can read up, there's a tutorial on completing your FAFSA if you need to do that. So New Jersey has an excellent website that you can log on to. Some people, I went to college for free. I went to undergrad for free because my mother worked at the university. Check with your places of employment to see if they have any stipends or anything that can go towards. Because of my job, I got, for grad school, I went for free. Also, think about this in terms of when you guys are looking at careers. All right? There's just so much it's a family affair. That's what I like to call it. So please sit down and discuss these things because it's very important. It's very important. Okay? I want everybody to go to college where they can afford going to college and getting that degree within the allotted 4 years, if possible. All right, the longer in school, the more money it's going to cost.
I had a question about the New Jersey Stars. Is that need-based, or is that you're eligible if you're in the top 15%?
Top 15%?
Doesn't matter if you're
It's not need-based. What it'll do is for the New Jersey Stars scholarship, is it need-based? No, it's not need-based. However, it does, and I don't think I mentioned this, there is a cap on income of $250,000 annual. Okay? So if you're below that top 15% of your senior year, going to the local county college, all right, then once you apply for that county college, they'll let us know. Okay? So, no, that's not. They'll look at how much you're eligible for. The financial aid, they'll find out, okay, are you eligible for state funds? So if you're eligible for the New Jersey Tuition Aid Grant, we'll give you the New Jersey Tuition Aid Grant towards your education. And then that remaining balance, that's where New Jersey Stars will kick in. Well, I'd like to say that we're finished. All right? Thank you. A round of applause would really be, no. But if you have any questions, you can always call us. If you need, if you want to speak to me personally, you can call my job, but you would just have to come up to me real quick and get the number. All right?
I just want to thank Mrs. Barker for coming with us real quick. And also, like I said, make sure that you're checking your students' Naviance account. We do monthly update scholarships, and a lot of students think that may be out of reach for them, but you'd be amazed of how many students don't take advantage of the scholarships and don't apply because they don't want to write that essay because they don't think that they can actually get it. So take advantage of that, and if you have difficulty getting onto Naviance or helping look at your student's account, you can always reach out to the counselor. Also, we have a workshop here at Lawrence coming on November 15th. It's a college funding coach, so definitely come to that, and they can help you look at different ways, and you can actually sign up after that to meet with them individually if you have questions, concerns, or anything of that nature. But again, thank you, Mrs. Barker, for coming, and thank you all for joining us tonight.